morning and welcome to the news. The Wednesday package, as usual, will take you on a 90-minute trip across the country along different sectors, never losing sight of issues that affect Nigeria and Nigerians, highlighting triumphs and identifying the challenges. Tonight, Nigeria opens land and air borders with Niger, lifts other sanctions too. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike meets senators to brief them on security in the Federal Capital Territory. Police storm Wuse Market, Abuja to investigate alleged extrajudicial killing of mobile phone accessories seller. On agriculture, the Central Bank of Nigeria makes key intervention on fertilizer distribution to farmers. On communication and digital economy, we train our lenses on a sector with claims of exponential growth and limitless opportunities for young Nigerians. There is a conversation with a tech expert who also happens to be the minister. We have all these and our usual packages of health, the environment, infrastructure development, and sports. Benny Adams is on standby for all the business gist. As you know, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Ian Ray John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. Let's set sail now as the Federal Executive Council, FEC, is reassuring Nigerians, particularly the affected families, that security agencies with specific instructions from the President are working assiduously toward the rescue of the recent kidnapped victims across some states in Nigeria. This was part of the outcome of the FEC meeting this Wednesday at the State House. Correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab reports.
Third in the year and ninth under President Bola Tinubu, Federal Executive Council meeting for this week was largely a review of recent results of the current administration's economic policies. The gains presented to the country's apex executive body are manifesting in agriculture, industry, trade and investment sectors. The recently inaugurated 620 metric tons per day tomato farm and factory in Ngaski, Kebbi State, as well as the flag off of a special agro-processing zone in Minna by the Niger State government were recounted as part of a project coming to boost the food security drive of the federal government. The ministers led to the briefing afterwards by the Information and National Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris also reviewed a new boost for the agricultural production and food security drive as the Central Bank of Nigeria has reportedly delivered 2.15 million bags of fertilizer to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security.
It will go a long way at least to cultivate nothing less than 400 to 500,000 hectares of farmland. So this is timely. Like I said, this will boost agricultural production and which will mitigate the food inflation that we have today. And we will also make sure that that fertilizer gets to the intended farmer, to the last mile.
Other gains are also coming in support from the World Trade Organization, WTO, for a standard trade development facility, digital trade and cotton development.
All of these supports are coming because they believe in the administration of the president, they believe in his vision, and they said it clearly that the reforms that we're putting out, yes, might take some time, but that's the right way, and that's the right direction of travel. And so all of these supports are coming both technically and financially to give us the boost to make sure that we achieve this. When we get all of this support, the achievement of attaining a $1 trillion economy is within our reach.
On roads construction, the Ministry of Works got an augmentation approval from the FEC for Obajana-Bini Road. The 244-kilometer road initially awarded for light rehabilitation for 122 billion naira in 2012, reviewed for dualization in 2018, will now commence at 897 billion naira. The Council also approved the Isheri North Lagos-Ogun Expressway for the sum of 2.23 billion naira.
And this is an alternative route to Lagos-Shagamu Road. And by the law, we're going to tow this Lagos-Shagamu when completed. And by law, for you to tow a road, federal road, you have to have an alternative. So this approval of about 2.23 billion to connect, this Lagos Isheri North to Ogun State is a major breakthrough, so that has freed the Lagos Shagamu for tolling.
The Ministry of Works also got approval of 114 billion naira for the outer marina shore protection, which was last done about 50 years ago. On the recent kidnap cases, including those of Kaduna and Borno, the Council expressed confidence in the ability of the security agencies to rescue the victims as directed by the Commander-in-Chief.
Mr. President reiterated his directive to the security agencies and the Ministry of Defense to ensure that those our kids that have been abducted by these criminal gangs are brought back to their homes safely. And Mr. President has also reiterated his zero tolerance for the payment of ransom.
At the meeting, the President initiated a 1-minute silence in honor of Gabriel Aduku, who passed on 2 days ago. The deceased was a council member. From the State House, Musbau, Dan Wahab, NTA News.
Meanwhile, improving security for the well-being of residents of the Federal Capital Territory took center stage at the Senate during plenary as the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and the Commissioner of Police met with the lawmakers. National Assembly correspondent Lamia Ali reports that the meeting was held behind closed doors.
Reported security breaches a couple of weeks ago in the nation's capital city prompted the Senate to invite the Minister and the Commissioner of Police in the FCT. The lawmakers want to hear firsthand the modalities being put in place to make the FCT secured for all. The meeting also discussed last Tuesday's reported security-related incidents at Wuse Market. At the end of the meeting, there was this reassurance.
Two most wanted, notorious kidnappers, we have gotten them. And that's why you see the level of kidnapping has reduced. So we are not saying that we have gotten to where we want to be, but we're doing a lot. And people must acknowledge that what used to be is not what we are seeing now. And we'll continue to say, we'll continue to do our best by providing the best for our people.
My colleagues in the other security outfit, because we have been working in synergy to ensure safety, we have used a lot of intelligence. We have decided to dominate the forests because FCT is bounded by 4 states that are crime prone. So we know, and we know the terrains, even though the terrains are very hard, but we have dominated the bushes. And we have used a lot of intelligence to pick most of the kidnappers.
Other features as plenary include the second reading of a bill seeking to establish a federal university in Birnin Kebbi, Kebbi State.
A modern institution that will develop world-class human resource that can sustainably manage our nation's economy by providing technical management expertise at the highest level.
The advantage of a school does not just belong to a state. It belongs to Nigeria, it belongs to the entire world.
A legislation backing it up. This university is already in existence, it has been around for several years.
Bill seeking to amend the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act was among the 5 that passed first reading. Away from plenary, the Southern Senators Forum have appointed new leadership with Senator Abiru Adetukumbo as chairman, while Senator Victor May is the vice chairman.
We will all work collectively, first and foremost for the interest of Nigeria, and equally work alongside with our northern senators as well. All of the issues that are of national concerns to all of us, we will make sure that we carry all of our members along with the different interests and the diverse nature of our association as a people.
The forum has 51 members from the 17 southern states. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
In other news, 17 newly appointed commissioners for the National Population Commission, NPC, have been sworn in. The new commissioners swore to take their respective offices before the commencement of this week's meeting of the Federal Executive Council, chaired by President Bola Tinubu. The 17 commissioners are from Abia, Adamawa, Anambra, Borno, Cross River, Delta. They also include commissioners from Ebonyi, Edo, Enugu, Gombe, Imo, and Kaduna states. Others are from Kano, Kogi, Plateau, Rivers, and Taraba states. Chairman of the NPC, Nasser Kwara, who appreciated the president for the appointments, believes this will enhance the delivery of the commission's task.
It actually positions us very well in the preparation of the census, because you cannot, it's a national thing, so we have to be in every state of the federation preparing for the census. If you don't have a commissioner from that state, the pace of preparation for the census will slow down, because the director in the state alone cannot handle that. It needs a commissioner to really support him.
Meanwhile, the newly inaugurated commissioners of the National Population Commission have promised to support the course to generate credible census data that will meet global best practices and aid national planning. The commissioners spoke after the chairman of the NPC, Nasser Issa Kwara, briefed them on the latest as regards the proposed national headcount and other activities of the commission.
Census was last conducted in 2006. It wasn't a digital census that was taken. We're now in the process of finalizing our instruments. The apps that we're using, they are all things that we continuously improve upon. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of learning.
We have come to continue where we stopped, because we have an unfinished project, which I believe is on course, which the nation desires so much to have.
So for us today, is we're happy to be here, to be sworn in today, to have the legal powers to work. We are assuring the chairman that today all of us will do our best to ensure that our mandate is sustained.
So I expect to contribute my quota to ensure that we have a very good and robust data that will help us to improve whatever development that is needed across the country.
Out of the new federal commissioners of the commission, 8 are being reappointed for a second term in office. Away from census-related issues now, President Bola Tinubu has directed the opening of Nigeria's land and air borders with the Republic of Niger and the lifting of other sanctions against the country with immediate effect. A statement by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, notes that the directive is in compliance with the decisions of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government at its extraordinary summit on February 24, 2024 in Abuja. ECOWAS leaders had agreed to lift economic sanctions against the Republic of Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. The president has directed that the following sanctions imposed on the Republic of Niger be lifted immediately: closure of land and air borders between Nigeria and Niger Republic, as well as ECOWAS no-fly zone on all commercial flights to and from Niger Republic. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between Nigeria and Niger, as well as freeze of all service transactions, including utility services and electricity to Niger Republic. Freeze of assets on the Republic of Niger in ECOWAS central banks, and freeze of assets of the Republic of Niger, state enterprises and parastatals in commercial banks. Suspension of Niger from all financial assistance and transactions with all financial institutions, particularly EBID and BOAD. Travel bans on government officials and their family members. President Tinubu has also approved the lifting of financial and economic sanctions against the Republic of Guinea. Now heading to the Green Chamber, the price of Cement in the country today is going through the roof at a time when many Nigerians are struggling to keep a roof over their heads. Lawmakers in the Green Chamber say this is totally unacceptable, considering that the raw materials for the manufacturing of cement are sourced locally. To this end, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the arbitrary hike in the price of cement by cement manufacturers in the country. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikpen reports on this and other deliberations at Wednesday's plenary.
Prices of cement are hitting the roofs, and so is the cost of other building materials, not to mention the cost of rent. The astronomical increase in the price of cement in the country stirred up a debate among lawmakers who insist that the cost of the product puts affordable shelter beyond the reach of ordinary Nigerians.
The manufacturers of cement have capitalized on exchange volatility to arbitrarily increase the price of the product, whose cost of production has not changed significantly since last year.
The issue of cement is that of monopoly. The two biggest manufacturers are holding Nigerians to ransom. They bought government companies from Sokoto Cement to Benue Cement are all government properties.
The big cement producers have not been fair to the ordinary Nigerian people because we are looking at their balance sheets. These are people who donate billions to political parties, to politicians. But when it comes to helping ordinary people, the story is different. So I think they should be invited here.
We must not allow few individuals to control the economy of this country in such a manner that they will fix the price of everything.
The House resolved to invite cement manufacturers alongside the Ministers of Solid Minerals Development as well as Trade and Investment to provide answers at plenary. Meanwhile, the House is urging the federal government to accelerate the investigation of the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation in order to resume the implementation of the National Social Investment Program.
Urge the federal government to place on hold the alleged idea of a new steering committee board under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance to oversee the social investment programs, since such idea contravenes the extant laws.
Two motions drawing attention to the plight of some Bayelsa communities threatened by ocean surge and the need to resuscitate the power transmission substation in Yenagoa were also adopted.
As I talked to you, Mr. Speaker, a few days ago, about 6 communities were submerged by sea encroachment.
Urge the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to swiftly intervene to prevent the complete collapse of the power distribution and transmission in Yenagoa and in the environment.
12 bills passed first reading at Wednesday's plenary, including the Fiscal Responsibility Act Amendment Bill 2024. From the National Assembly, Mitari Ikpen, NTA News.
Away from the National Assembly now, Nigeria is making strides to be more visible at the global digital economy map as it prioritizes knowledge and investment in digital infrastructure to ensure accessibility. The drivers of the sector also seem to be on the same page in introducing programs to scale up domestic competence in the sector. Chimdima Ndubisi takes us through major policy decisions and efforts so far.
Digital technology remains a key driver of innovations and economic growth. Countries that have keyed in are recording increased productivity in all aspects of the economy. ICT is the fastest growing sector of Nigeria's economy for more than 4 years. Now, with a young tech-savvy generation, crop of innovators, and large population to drive markets, Nigeria is said to have all it takes to tap into benefits inherent in the digital economy. Experts say the required footsteps, however, include the formulation and implementation of policies to trigger exponential growth. The current Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, has set the wheel in motion for Nigeria's accelerated digital transformation with a 5-pillar blueprint and set targets. In a race against time to achieve President Tinubu's mandate of training Nigerians on digital skills and creating 2 million technical jobs, the 3 million technical talent program, 3MTT, was flagged off. The move, the ministry says, is to make Nigeria a global skills hub and exporter of digital talent.
The 3MTT program also creates allowance for job engagement. Beyond the train, the income going in is going to alleviate poverty. There is the aspect of software engineering, so we're going to get more innovations, and that would increase the numbers of startups that we would have, and that will bring direct foreign investment.
Some telecom subscribers often complain of poor internet service, while the service is not even available in some areas, particularly rural communities. Broadband penetration stalls at below 50%, and fiber optics cable coverage only about 35,000 kilometers, whereas 120,000 kilometers are needed to be covered so as to provide low-cost quality internet service across the country and deliver universal access to digital technology, which will boost business for more of micro, small and medium enterprises. On this, the federal government, through the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, is working with development partners and the private sector to increase investment in telecom infrastructure to cover the about 90,000 kilometers deficit.
We're discussing with the government is, well, what's the best way to finance that? How could you set that up? How could you release some of the funding that's available in country using perhaps the Universal Service Provision Fund, USPF, and other instruments, and how can the World Bank provide technical assistance and, if needed, perhaps some financing for that goal. You guys could be the hub for exporting digital services to all of West Africa, just like you're an exporter of Nollywood. I mean, everybody watches Nigerian movies.
Then is the Project 774 LGs, a plan to connect secretariats of all local government councils to the internet to ensure nationwide broadband connectivity.
Some of these steps, if effectively implemented, professionals say will position Nigeria on the path to full digital transformation and place it to reap benefits in the digital economy. In Abuja, Chimdima Ndubisi, NTA News.
Many thanks, Chimdima, for the update. But I have joining me now the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. Many thanks for joining us on News Extra.
Thank you, Yara. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, good to have you. As Chimdima mentioned in that report, the ministry has a blueprint. Could you tell us what the pillars are?
Absolutely. I think we have to first recognize the fact that our country is being led at this time by a president with very strong clarity in terms of how to articulate the desires of our people, but also the aspiration of the nation, our collective aspiration to actually have a nation that is developed and inclusive in that way. And that's why you notice that the president started out with very clear 8 presidential priorities. But when you look at all those priorities, you can see that there's a requirement for technology to actually be applied to help significantly achieve those objectives, whether you're talking about food security and what technologies can do to help in agriculture, or you're talking about ending poverty and what technologies can do to help raise and create new jobs, or you're talking about security and the role of technology. So what we did when I was appointed as a minister was to actually engage both the private sector but also the public sector in understanding the state of the ecosystem, the state of the sector. As you remember, Nigeria is one of the most attractive markets on the African continent for technology. Our telecommunications sector, for instance, is the highest grossing on the continent. Most of the MNOs that you see in Nigeria are the largest on the continent. At the moment, that sector contributes anywhere between 15 to 18% to the GDP of the country, which shows the significant power that it has. But the possibilities of the digital economy, it doesn't end in its contribution to GDP or how it is seen as just another sector. The digital economy in itself is the opportunity for us to raise the level of productivity across key sectors in Nigeria. So what we did was to articulate strongly how we can accelerate the growth of that sector to help achieve the objective of the president. So we came up with 5 clear pillars which are part of our agenda of how we intend to drive the growth of the sector. And the first one is what we call knowledge. Knowledge for us is an understanding that you cannot drive the application of technology if you don't have the prerequisite knowledge that is required. And under that, you will find knowledge to be to include the workforce that is required to be able to apply technology strongly. You'll find knowledge to include research. And the third part of knowledge for us is digital literacy. That there's a need for the average Nigerian to be digitally literate to be able to engage, of course, with technology. The second one is policy. Policy for us is about reimagining how we structure the policy that government is coming up with for the technology ecosystem to ensure that we're not only using policies as a way of regulating, but we're using policy as an opportunity to actually open up our economy for technology to help us leapfrog it. And the third one is infrastructure, understanding that you can't truly have a digital economy if you don't have the backbone infrastructure that is required to make it work. And infrastructure in this case includes the fiber optic network, which makes it possible for everyone in the country, regardless of your location, to be able to have access to good quality internet. The second one for us is our satellite. As you know, Nigeria is the only country in West Africa with a satellite. And this satellite offers significant opportunity for us to actually deepen our digital economy. The third one is our NIPOST, for instance, also, which includes the ability of people to be able to trade digitally, but also move the goods around also in person and physically as well. So that's how we're looking at infrastructure, ensuring that we can continue to deepen and invest in infrastructure. And this is something that the president is extremely interested in, is extremely passionate about it. It was part of the conversation at FEC today. The fourth pillar of this strategic blueprint is focus on innovation, entrepreneurship, and capital. Understanding that Nigeria cannot truly make the most of technology if we don't empower the entrepreneurs and the innovators that are going to build on it. And of course, lastly is trade. That not only do we want to build technology solutions that we use locally, but we can also export to the rest of the world as well.
That's a brilliant package, I must tell you. But we also understand that the 3MTT program is the largest talent accelerator globally. Can you give us details of the program and how it will impact the populace and the economy? Will it actually encourage homegrown solutions?
Oh, it will. If you follow what's been happening on the continent and in Nigeria in particular for the last probably 10, 15 years, you will notice that there's been significant growth in locally produced technology solutions. You see the large financial technology companies, which are some of the best on the African continent. We call them unicorn in the technology sector, which literally means companies that are now worth over $1 billion. We have more than 6 or 7 of those in Nigeria today. They started out of Nigeria. They've grown beyond Nigeria into so many other markets as well. But you cannot continue to see many more of this if you don't continue to grow the technology talent pool.
Which you intend to do.
That's what the 3MTT is about. But also pay attention to the fact that technology is now part of our daily lives. Everything we do, there's a technology around us. And this,
I'm talking about, you know, being part of our daily lives. Yeah. I understand that you're also trying to drive Project 774 local governments.
We are looking to do that.
What would be the gains of that?
We are looking to do that, but just to quickly touch on this. So globally, there's a large shortage of technology talent because most of the developed world, they have aging population, and also they're not giving birth to kids, but we have very youthful population. So Nigeria has the opportunity to actually become the net exporter of technology talent, not only for the companies locally, but also abroad as well. So to touch on what you were talking about, so we're investing significantly in raising talent. The government wants to train 3 million technology talent in Nigeria. And we've started that. We've received over 1.7 million applications from all the local governments in Nigeria. And we started with 30,000 of them. Those are now rounding off their training this month. And we've announced the new batch, which is 270,000 people that are also now starting in the month of March. But we're extending it. We understand that if we train this talent, there's also opportunity for us to start to deepen how we use technology in government. So government is leveraging existing investment in our satellite, in our broadband and fiber optic network by ensuring that we can give internet access to all the 774 local governments in Nigeria, all of them. So we've actually started that installation. I think there's been about close to 10 or so local government secretariats now in Kogi State that have been connected in the last 1 or 2 weeks. We've moved to Imo State. Samfara is going to be the next. In the next 6 months, we will complete in 10 different states. But we're not just putting internet into this local government secretariat. We're also installing computer labs in those secretariats. There will be digital literacy training for all the staff members of this local government secretariat, but also there will be opportunity for people who live around the secretariat to be able to come into the secretariat for digital literacy training.
I must say that's a fantastic plan, and of course, if this pulls through at the end of the day, it would improve our economy in general. But just before I let you go, on a final note, is devs in government a means of entrenching e-governance? What really is the purpose?
No, absolutely, because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president that has tried extensively in Lagos to use technology to change government, and that's the same thing he's looking to see within the federal government. And we understand that you can't really scale the use of technology if you don't have the workforce with a good understanding of how to use technology, but how to also deploy it effectively to help in the delivery of public goods and services. So we've started devs in government as an opportunity to bring all the technologies within the civil service together and to serve as a platform through which they can exchange knowledge, through which they can share ideas, through which we can share information with them. But I think most importantly, a knowledge also for capacity building for all the technologies in government. Because we understand that by doing this, we have the workforce and the army of people that can actually help us achieve our goal of digitalizing public services.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bosun Tijani. It's been enlightening talking with you on News Extra. Of course, wish you the best as you continue to achieve your mandate as the Minister of the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we'll take a break now. It's News Extra. Stay with us. Welcome back. As short and long-term plans are being adopted to address the current food crisis occasioned by rising costs, the Central Bank of Nigeria has joined the bandwagon with plans to allocate 2.15 million bags of fertilizer worth 100 billion naira to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security for onward distribution to farmers. This is to help boost food production. Musa Abubakar reports that the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, disclosed this in Abuja at a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture.
Trying times for most people in the country as price of food and household goods continue to rise. Food inflation rate in January 2024 had increased to 35.41% on a year-on-year basis, 11.10% points higher compared to the rate recorded same period of 2023. This concern is shared by the Central Bank of Nigeria as the monetary authority in charge of price stability. To remedy this, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and his team are here at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to support farmers nationwide with fertilizer.
In alignment with our strategic shift towards focusing on our fundamental mandate, the CBN has veered away from direct quasi-fiscal interventions and transitioned towards leveraging conventional monetary policy tools for executing monetary policies effectively.
I assure you that it will be judiciously used and it will deliver it to the last mile, to the intended persons, to the intended farmers, where they can reap the benefits of this huge gesture, and by in turn to cultivate and produce more that will stem the galloping food inflation that is affecting our country.
We really want to be sure that those who own land and are ready to go to farm are the ones that should be taking the benefit. Because that is when the value of whatever we are doing will come home to support the goal that you have set.
Finally, the handshake between the monetary and fiscal authorities is in place as the Apex Bank remained resolute in its determination to achieve price stability in the country. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
And still on boosting food sufficiency, the governments at sub-national levels are fast coming up of solution-driven measures to surmount present food crisis and other economic challenges facing the country. The bold steps were taken during an extraordinary session between the Forum, Ministry of Agriculture and other key players. Abubakar Akwanga reports.
Sequel to concrete moves made by the federal government to address outcries tied to food shortage in the country, Nigerian Governors Forum is fast playing its complementary rules to block leakages and guarantee surplus. In Akwa Ibom State, the government is planning to establish an agency backed by an act of parliament which will buy food items in bulk and sell them at cheaper prices to residents. And in Kano State, authorities raided warehouses where traders are suspected of hoarding food supplies, while Yobe State government banned bulk purchases of grains from local markets to stop hoarding and exports across Nigeria's borders. In Niger State, Governor Mohammed Umar Bago has enforced a ban on mass purchase of foodstuffs from local markets and ordered security agencies to ensure compliance. In Enugu State, Governor Peter Umba said his administration will eradicate hunger and poverty in the state and unlock the rural economy through investment in agriculture and agro-industrialization with a projected $30 billion investment. Also, the Ekiti State government said it has committed the sum of 1 billion naira to improve food production, especially to embark on farm preparation driven by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security on a large-scale farming through support by the World Bank. In Zamfara State, Governor Dauda Lawal partners Sweden government on how to grow the state economy and other sectors and address the current hardship. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak of Kwara State is collaborating with Governors Agbu Kefas of Taraba State and Ahmed Ododo of Kogi State with Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to push for increased crop production to tackle food inflation. Governor Sanwo Olu of Lagos State says, and I quote, "We are willing to implement some of the lessons we have learned from the Netherlands, particularly to enhance food production, storage, amongst others," he said, end of quote. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
I got Benny Adams here to give us more business news. Benny.
Thank you. And talking more business, the presidency says the federal government is committed to catapulting Nigeria into a formidable industrial and trade powerhouse on the continent. This is coming on the heels of efforts at attracting international partnerships with the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, and also the International Trade Center being the latest.
Government sensitivity to our entrepreneurial growth has produced initiatives supporting micro, small, and medium enterprises, with the first phase of interventions launched in Benue State and the second in Ogun State in February. Our vision extends beyond civil power and further aims to enable ease of doing business and expand the number of enterprises generating over $1 billion in revenue, which currently stands at over 23. As we aspire for industrial expansion and trade development, our commitment aligns seamlessly with the green future. We are here to prioritize the reduction of Nigeria's carbon footprint and the modernization of our transportation systems, because this mission is not merely about preparing for the future, it's about safeguarding the present.
And stakeholders in the West African tax space say the stage is now set for reforms that will enhance revenue generation, improve administration and management of taxes on the region. This came to the heels at the fourth session of the Steering Committee of Support a Program for Fiscal Transition in ECOWAS countries. They shared experiences and agreed that tax evasion and other poor fiscal policies are responsible for the weak tax regime.
This is good for national finances, but also it's good, I can tell you, also for investors, because what investors do not want is to find regulatory systems and fiscal systems that expose them to changes which are not predictable, which are not transparent.
When you talk about tax evasion, you're even talking about, number one, your registration. How many people are registered for taxes? How many entities? That's when I'm talking of entities, whether corporate entity or individuals. How many of them are registered? Number two, how many of them are actually paying the correct taxes?
There are strategies around, though we start VAT, but at the same time we are going to implement the electronic invoicing system where we can get data on time, in real time, in our tax administration servers so that we can cross-check whether what has been paid is correct or not.
And looking at transactions in Nigerian exchange, investors gain 273.02 billion naira as the all-share index advanced by 0.47%. The total volume traded declined by 42.21% to close at 326.95 million naira, valued at 9.12 billion naira, and traded in 9,570 deals. Transcorp was the most traded stock by volume with 38.95 million, while Nestle was the most traded stock by value with 1.05 trillion naira units traded. At the close of trading, the market recorded 31 gainers, 22 losers, and 66 remained unchanged. That is business news. News Extra continues with Iyenre. Iyenre, you can take it from here.
Many thanks, Benny. But you need to hear that sometime in 2022, the federal government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, supported the University of Ilorin to establish a multi-million naira poultry farm to create employment, enhance food security, promote entrepreneurship skills, as well as serve as a steady source of income for the university. 2 years down the line, Khadijat Akombi visits the poultry farm and says the farm is begging for further intervention from government to achieve the purpose for which it was established. How is that, Khadijat? We're all ears.
About 2 years ago, the sum of 600 million naira was disbursed in tranches by the Central Bank of Nigeria to the University of Ilorin to establish the poultry farm under the Tertiary Institution Poultry Revival Scheme. The poultry is made up of 6 broiler pens that can accommodate 5,000 broilers each. The layers pen, which started with 15,000 birds, has now doubled up to 30,000. Other sections at the farm include the feed mill, the processing unit, the cold store, and the egg room. The layers produce between 800 to 850 crates of egg daily. Gawati Adedayo is the Chief Operating Officer of the poultry farm.
We have about over 100 staffs here that benefits directly from the farm. And when it comes to multiplier effect on the benefits of this farm, it goes into hundreds of thousands. We have people that come to buy our products and resell within the town, apart from those that have been paid salaries. And also several that come to buy our product and take to other parts of the country.
The poultry wastes are also a source of income as farmers from the northern parts of the country come to the farm to buy the wastes, which serve as manure to their various farms.
Some come from Jos, from Kaduna, Kano. They come to buy up these litters, and we make a lot of money from the litter sales too.
Despite the successes recorded at the poultry farm, it is not breaking even due to the high cost of feed production coupled with high interest rates charged by the bank. Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin says the poultry farm can go a long way to enhance food security in Nigeria if given the required support by government.
If the CBN wants to assist us, if the federal government wants to assist us, this money should actually be converted into a grant. We have managed this so far, but it's really, really challenging.
If the University of Ilorin is supported to run the Tertiary Institution Poultry Revival Scheme, and if replicated in other institutions across the country, it will provide employment opportunities, enhance food security, as well as alleviate poverty. Khadija Takumbi, NTA News.
Well, thanks, Khadija, for the update. And back in Abuja, the FCT police commander is still carrying out investigations into the crisis on Tuesday afternoon at Wuse Market, leading to the death of 27-year-old Ibrahim Yahaya, a hawker of mobile phone accessories, who was arrested by the Abuja Environmental Protection Board Task Force, but shot to death while attempting to escape from the scene of arrest by a correctional center officer. Correspondent Kama reports.
The civil unrest at the Wuse Market on Tuesday, FCT Commissioner of Police Benef Igwe led a team of police operatives to the scene.
Actually, we are looking into the task force from the FCT, the task force from AMAC, task force. We are trying to determine the modus operandi and where they can operate so that they will not cause trouble for us.
Meanwhile, all gates into the market and the shops are under lock and key until all the issues are resolved.
To see how we can improve on what we do here so that such things doesn't happen again. The much we owe the dead and every other person who have been affected is to improve on our approach. But we can't do it alone. We need the support of the traders themselves. We need the support of other stakeholders.
Affected traders are appealing to Abuja Municipal Area Council and the Federal Capital Territory Administration to come to their rescue.
I don't know where to start again. This is what I have labored for more than, at least, you see I'm getting old. So since when I was young, I started this since 1980s. So I don't know how it will be like. Government should please assist me.
Although the actual cause of the fire incident is yet to be ascertained, the death of the young man remains a sore and a bitter pill for many at the market who believed the situation could have been better handled.
It is evident that there is need for a swift and effective dialogue between all parties involved to find a resolution that addresses the concern of the traders and ensure the safety and well-being of everyone in the market. I am Kama, NTA News.
Thank you, Kama. Great recommendation there. We hope we'll get development in that regard. Now, the challenges of power supply in the country are no longer in the realm of conjecture. The realities are here with us. Bad news is, in the midst of these challenges of insufficient electricity supply nationwide, the national grid is under threat by activities of vandals. How do you say that in local parlance? Double wahala for dirty body, right? Well, the question now is, how can this be tackled? Well, the federal government says it will go real tough on anyone caught in this unpatriotic act. Joshua Odito will tell us more on what awaits vandals of power infrastructure.
North to south, and recently the nation's capital, Abuja, transmission infrastructure have come under attacks, disrupting electricity supply. In fact, Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, has been out of the national grid due to vandalization of transmission lines. Industry record shows that in the span of 2 months this year, 5 transmission lines have been pulled down by vandals along Gwagwalada-Katankpe and Shiroro-Katankpe lines in Abuja, as well as Jos Gombe, Damaturu-Maiduguri transmission lines. Transmission substations are not spared, with reported cases of inferno resulting to grid collapse and loss of lives.
Transmission is seriously handicapped because they cannot stand by every tower all over the country to say we are monitoring them. But they can also go ahead to work with community people, work with them at a minimal cost in such a way that if they see anything, let them say something. Let them interrogate those they see around those transmission towers who are going there to do 1 or 2 things, and then they are able to send information so that you cannot adopt a preventive rather than a reactive approach.
We are going to ask the legislators to make legislation so that if you are caught stealing any TCN material, you will be prosecuted.
It's the same sad tale at the distribution arm of electricity, with vandalization of transformers on the increase. In spite of advocacy for host communities to keep eagle eye on power infrastructure, activities of vandals continue unabated. Now, government is going tough on vandals.
We want to push for capital punishments for those involved in vandalization and those involved in power theft of all forms, including bypassing of meters. Capital punishment is not too much because they are also gradually killing the nation.
While the proposal requires legislation to amend existing laws, industry players say in addition to capital punishment, there is need to adopt other technological devices to protect power infrastructure. Joshua Odito, NTA News.
Time to take another break. Please remain tuned. Glad to have you back. A simulation exercise, code-named Haskebu, has commenced at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, Kaduna State. The joint exercise is to boost interagency efforts in tackling low-intensity conflicts with emphasis on kidnapping, armed robbery and coercism. Defense correspondent reports.
Different internal security challenges truncating socio-economic development in parts of the country. In view of the dynamism and complex nature of these threats, more than 400 personnel from the Nigerian Armed Forces and those of the allied countries, the Nigerian Police Force, paramilitary agencies, and the media are participating in this year's simulation at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, in Kaduna State. The exercise is to enhance their capacity to jointly tackle low-intensity conflicts with emphasis on terrorism, kidnapping, separatist agitations, and armed robbery.
This exercise is a joint and multi-agency approach towards addressing the common problems in this country. It is aimed at building synergy that will allow a whole of nation and whole of society solution to the current challenges we're facing.
I would like to emphasize that you all consider the use of soft power as an effective tool for termination of conflicts. This is because the end of conflicts will go beyond the use of hard power as witnessed in several conflicts both past and present.
At the end of the Senior Course 46, participants are expected to apply the acquired skills in solving real-time security issues in the country.
From the Jaji Cantonment in Kaduna, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And still on security, the Nigerian Army in Lagos has apprehended 9 impersonators, 7 males and 2 females who wore military uniforms, displaying fake military identity cards, misleading the public. Larry Willey witnessed the public show of the culprits, where the army says such acts will not be taken lightly.
These 9 individuals are dismissed army personnel and civilians caught at various locations in Lagos metropolis and brought to the Nigerian Army 81 Division.
These individuals falsely represented themselves as personnel of the Nigerian Army by wearing our military uniforms, displaying fake military identity cards, or using other deceptive tactics and methods to mislead members of the public, thereby tarnishing the reputation and integrity of the Nigerian Army.
They were engaged in using fake military gears for debt collecting, free transportation and vehicle escort.
Amongst these 9 army personnel impersonators, there's a case of a lady called Vivian that has been arrested about 7 times. So we ask her, why does she keep doing this?
It was a soldier that was following. He's the one that handled the uniform in the custody, and I was staying with him before he went to Meduguri.
You like army work?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you join?
Well, with this that's happening, I didn't think I can join because my name had been spoiled.
The army said they will hand over the suspects to the police for further legal procedures. In Lagos, Larry Bilayi, NTA News.
Like they say, if the bird has learned to fly without perching, the hunter must learn to shoot without missing. This appears to be the emerging scenario as cyber crimes challenge and stretch the intellectual capacity of law enforcement agencies. The Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center is, however, rising to the challenge and stepping up efforts to be miles ahead of the criminals by building the capacity of its personnel on current trends. Francis Form reports.
It is the maiden training for operatives of the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center with over 80 participants. Criminals are capitalizing on the development of artificial intelligence and high-speed internet to carry out criminal activities. And the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center is not leaving anything to chance, as the center is enhancing the capacity of the operatives with requisite investigation skills.
Some new tools that are available to familiarize themselves on the use of those tools, the updates in the tools for them to get very acquainted with those updates and how to efficiently and effectively use them in combating cybercrime and making our Nigeria cyberspace safer.
Because it's network-based, and because the technology we use, that's the same technology the cyber criminals, that's the same thing they use. So for us to be able to, be a step ahead of the threat actors and the cyber criminals, we must have to, constantly, build capacity and, of course, capabilities to be able to counter whatever thing that is going to come up in future.
Just this year, the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center has secured the conviction of 7 cyber criminals and recovered over 4 billion naira from several cyber criminals. Francis from NTA News.
Away from criminals and criminality now, let's look at other issues. State-of-the-art information and communication technology hub that will accelerate digital literacy and digital economy, as well as bridge the gender gap in ICT, has been inaugurated. Wife of the Chief of Staff to the President, Salamatu Wadagbeamila, says the digital technology hub handed over to the center is the brainchild of the Renewed Hope initiative of the First Lady of Nigeria, in partnership with NTA. Ngozi Technical feeds us.
Opening of the ICT hub, duly equipped with modern digital technology devices that can now be accessed by residents of the Federal Capital Territory, especially women. Even the physically challenged are in on this, as demonstrated for the First Lady's representative, whose smiles of approval indicates women's readiness to fully participate in digital revolution of the 21st century.
We must recognize the indispensable role of technology in advancing gender equity. By ensuring our women's full participation in the digital revolution through access to technology, we can unlock the potential that will enable them contribute meaningfully to economic growth, innovation, and social progress towards our nation's greater prosperity.
She noted that similar inauguration is simultaneously carried out in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The Director General of the Center, represented by the Director of Human Resources and the representative of the DG NITDA, applauded the initiative.
It will boost our capacity to reach out to more women.
Each center that we give an intervention like this, the center will work and sustain the center.
The DG assured proper utilization of the facility to enrich the digital knowledge of women and girls, as well as other Nigerians. Ngozi Technical, NTA News.
Now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has warned parents against enrolling minors for Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME. JAMB Registrar, Professor Ishaq Oluyode, issued the caution while reacting to a suit filed by Mrs. Ifeanyi Eke against the organization over alleged inappropriate text messages sent to her 15-year-old daughter during the course of her registration. The plaintiff had filed a 100 million naira suit against JAMB and 3 others before a federal high court in Lagos over alleged unsolicited and inappropriate text messages sent to her 15-year-old daughter. But Oluyode says JAMB is ready to meet with the woman, maintaining that the sender of the message is not its staff. JAMB has since reported the incident to security agencies. Tinubu's presidency is deepening collaboration and exploring foreign windows in supplying expatriate skills to citizens, as well as building resilience in vocational knowledge amongst the teeming unemployed. This is coming as the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Technical, Vocational and Entrepreneurship Education, Abiola Arogundade, mentioned strategic efforts to tame dependence on foreign skills.
Our return on investment will be like when we invest in the training, they'll be employed by the multinationals. We're also looking at a big component with foreign affairs to look at human capital development being a big component of what we negotiate when we're negotiating country-to-country agreements.
Said collaborative efforts with banks and other key players are on to support 10,000 online registered youths, as well as empower inmates with requisite skills and a starter park of 500,000 naira each.
You can use the kiosk for your main skill, which in this case, as I mentioned, will be hairdressing. Then you can use it POS business. So we're partnering with the bank, as I mentioned, so they will supply the POS, and also you can use it to charge phones. So we're using that as a multi-purpose intervention for 3 streams of income, which we're launching today, and we'll be giving it out to the beneficiaries after we train and certify them.
Office is also training youths on a free collateral loan basis and promoting synergy with French Development Bank and construction across centers to develop the right skills for meeting domestic demand in the industry. Now time to let some more commercials breathe. Remain tuned. Welcome back. The Federal Housing Authority has promised affordable mass housing for Nigerians and foreigners on tourism to Nigeria. This came to the fore during a courtesy visit paid on the agency by the Minister of Tourism, Mrs. Lola Ade John, in Abuja. Francis Udoja brings us details.
The visit of the Minister of Tourism in company of staff of the ministry was brief, but led to a major collaborative plans of developing tourism and in the process provide decent and affordable housing to tourists and investors who in turn contribute to the GDP of the nation.
What we were thinking of was in our tourism space, how we are going to accommodate or find accommodation for inbound tourists, especially those that want to have slightly longer stay, and also for our diaspora tourists. You know, we want to ensure that they are comfortably accommodated.
You're talking about a place where you are inviting diasporans, not just the ones we have, a place where we are inviting diasporans. We want them to feel at home. So we can assure you on our own side that we've put up this plan and we manage.
The FHA chief executive hinted that all category of persons will be provided easy access to own houses through various housing developers already engaged in achieving the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. In Abuja, Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Elsewhere, law enforcement agencies are undergoing training in Abuja on ways to effectively manage climate-related conflicts for more harmonious co-living and improved livelihoods. The training, sponsored by the European Union, is organized by the Italian Shipping Academy Foundation and the Alumni Association of the National Defense College of Nigeria. Charles Alpha reports.
The advent of climate change has disrupted livelihoods across Africa, displacing communities and farmlands, causing hunger, loss of biodiversity, as well as migration. This necessitated the International Conference on Climate Change, which is seen as the cause of conflicts in coastal regions and other communities in West Africa. The training of these law enforcement personnel in Abuja aims to enhance civil-military relations in communities and regions affected by climate impact.
Climate change could become a major contributing factor to conflicts by exacerbating the scarcity of important natural resources such as fresh water, with effects of triggering mass population migration.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, in a message to the conference, says climate crisis is a weighty responsibility that transcends borders and requires law enforcement agencies to leverage the opportunity.
We cannot afford to turn a blind eye to the fact that climate change affects the most fragile regions of the world, and consequences are evident for law enforcement agencies.
The C7 initiative is a testament to our collective commitment to addressing the pressing challenges of climate change and conflict in the Niger Delta and beyond.
We must acknowledge that Nigeria's policymakers and the law enforcement agencies have continued to render and play invaluable roles.
So far, 250 law enforcement personnel have been trained in the coastal region of the Niger Delta. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Another break is due. More extras to come. Stay put. Let's now have a bit of sports.
President, Badminton Federation of Nigeria, Francis Obi, has reiterated commitment towards ensuring Nigeria's badminton representative, Anuoluwapo Opoyere, compete to podium finish at the forthcoming Paris Olympics.
Really, we have very determined athletes who are hungry and passionate, and they want to do Nigeria proud whenever they go out, irrespective of what level of preparation that has been put in.
Meanwhile, Egypt and Nigeria maintain their dominance on the medals table at the African Games in Ghana, with the North African side on top with 53 gold medals, while Team Nigeria is second with 24 gold medals. Algeria, South Africa and Tunisia complete the top 5. The stage is set for a showdown as Nigeria's Sambo athletes lock horns with opponents from Algeria, Egypt and host Ghana, amongst others, at the 13th African Games. Elizabeth Omoko reports that the 4-man team member representing Nigerian contingent will take part in a maiden game that combines judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing and wrestling.
It's a friendly sport that cuts across the whole, the elderly and the kids. So our main purpose is to at least use it to drive through the school system, whereby we catch them young and make them know that you must defend yourself without using even a pin or needle.
In the meantime, organizers of the newly revamped FCT Secondary School Sports Festival, Abuja, have expressed desire to promote healthy competition and discover athletes that can compete at the highest levels for Nigeria. Secondary schools across the FCT took part in the 2024 edition held at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja.
Those that will be selected, will calm them, nurture them, so that at any competition nationally, will be there to represent FCT.
Finally, in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz clinched a straight-set victory over Fabian Marunzan to reach the quarterfinals and continue his title defense at the Indian Wells. The Spaniard needed 75 minutes to wrap up a 6-3 victory over the Hungarian. With Sports Update, I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
Let's now tell you that Ace TV producer and renowned award-winning dramatist Pa Jonathan Ihonde has bowed to death at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, UBTH, on Wednesday, 13th March 2024. The well-acclaimed writer and creator of the popular Nigerian movie Hotel the Jordan passed on at the age of 86. Obehi Otoba Prasar reports that funeral arrangements will be announced by the family in due time.
On arrival at his family compound, his house was under lock with no family members inside. To further get details about his death, it was gathered that he died at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, but his remains have been taken to his country home at Sabongida Ora. His close friend, Dr. Sagi Obayuwana, and one of the cast who acted, Dr. Myro Moro, in his popular film Hotel the Jordan, Last Eguavon, in a phone conversation, described the deceased as a creative man.
Well, Jonathan Ihonde lived a very fulfilled life of service to humanity. He stumbled onto revolutionary theory of catering to the welfare of the lowliest.
He taught me how to write scripts. So when people started praising me later, oh, you are so good at script writing, I said yes, because I learned at the feet of the master himself.
He was a wonderful man, simple man. He shunned wet, and he dressed simply. He believed in revolution.
Pa Jonathan Ihonde, who died at 86, was a playwright, a unionist, progressive political organizer, and a frontline leader in the radio, television, theatre, and art workers union Ratau in Nigeria. His film production, Hotel the Jordan, from 1973 to 2000, it remains a memorable soap opera ever produced and aired in NTA Benin, in the then Midwest States, later Bendel State. In Benin, Obehi Otoba Presai, NTA News.
That's our package of news extra tonight. Many thanks for investing your time with us. Do have a good night.